Hello everyone, welcome. This is a bit of a special news video today. This is going to be focusing on the recent news concerning Sony's stocks. Basically, it is not going well at all for Sony at the moment. Their stocks have recently fallen below 1,000 yen, or around $12.79 at the moment with the current exchange and all that jazz. Now, this is a huge drop, and the most important fact here is that we haven't seen Sony stocks looking so bleak since 1984. So yes, a huge drop for Sony. And it's generally been a river of bad news for Sony recently, with their credit debt ratings being downgraded and them having to axe 10,000 people. And they are basically have been slated saying that they are in fight of its life. And even the former Sony exec is saying that it's almost game over for Sony. Now you're probably wondering, what has caused this? What is to blame for this huge drop in this company that has been around for so long? You know, many years. A lot of us grew up with Sony consoles. I myself had a PS1 when I was younger, so you know, this is a huge shock to see such a monolithic company doing so badly. So we need to examine what has caused this huge drop. Two of the main things considered to be behind the fall in their stocks is the lack of portable music sales, mostly thanks to the iPod obviously, and the TVs are no longer as popular, pretty much because LG and Samsung TVs have become much more popular and selling rather well. And a problem which someone else pointed out to me when we were discussing this problem a few months ago actually, when you were seeing like they were not doing all that well, is that they have too much, they have too many. You know, there was no way to, say if you went to a TV shop and said, oh, I want the very best Sony TV that you have, there would actually be no real way to answer that question, because they literally had so much with so many different values and all that stuff. You know, they were all about the same, or there wasn't one or two that was clearly better than the others. Whereas if you went into a shop and said, you know, I want your best Samsung, or I want your best LG, I want 1080p, blah blah blah, the salesperson would be able to say, well, right over here we've got this and this. You know, that is also a problem with the TV line. And of course, the PlayStation Vita has not been the roaring success that Sony hoped it would. I'm pretty sure most of us have heard by now about how it hasn't really been selling all that well, or at least not as well as they hoped. It's not exactly been flying off the shelves. So there's a number of factors here that kind of play into what's causing this huge drop in Sony's worth, basically, in their stocks, and it doesn't seem to be going very well for them. In a move that we haven't really seen from them before, they've shut two of its fully owned development studios. One was Big Studios, a UK-based studio, and one was Zipper Interactive. So those two studios have bitten the dust because of Sony's troubles, and if things keep going the way they are, more of their studios could be following suit. Obviously the big name ones they've got under their belts aren't at any risk, but the smaller ones that aren't maybe the monoliths churning out huge amounts of cash, they're probably going to be facing the axe if things keep going this way. I don't really know what Sony can do to pull themselves out of this one. To be honest, I think they just need to give up on the TV line and the portable music sales, MP3 players and all that jazz, because that is the main thing that's costing them rather than making them money. So if they just discontinue, try and sell off the remaining ones, they'll get rid of that cost, basically, and I think that's probably the wisest thing they could do. Just focus on the Vita and obviously the PS3 and the upcoming PS4. I imagine when the PS4 is actually released, they'll get a surge in sales of that, but even then, that's not going to be an instantaneous thing. It takes time for people to adopt to a new console, because, you know, they're familiar with the old one. They've got a massive library of games with the old one, especially with the PS3, because this generation has gone on for a long time. So people aren't going to be super eager to jump to the new console, especially if the release titles aren't all that amazing as they weren't with the PS3. So we'll have to see what happens, but personally I don't really see what else they can do aside from just give up the ghost with their TVs and MP3 players and just focus on the gaming side of their company. Obviously none of us want to see Sony go down, and I don't think that will happen anytime soon. But if they don't course correct, that's kind of where they're heading, and none of us want to see that. Huge company responsible for bringing us to PS1 and PS2 and PS3, of course. You know, so many of us grew up with these consoles and enjoy playing them still now today, so none of us want to see them go down. Even me as an Xbox 360 owner, I don't want to see them go down, because as much as I might disagree with some of their business policies and things like that, you know, it's Sony. The gaming world wouldn't be complete without them. Anyway guys, that's this little news video done for today. There's going to be a lot of news videos in the next few days because, as you probably know, it's E3. So me and Crimson are going to be doing our best to cover as much as possible when it comes to the big E3 news and all that good stuff. So yeah, like, subscribe and do all that good stuff, and I'll see you again soon.